Bam.
This is Brian Wetzel, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
We were talking on X. Well, a lot of times we talk on X, especially about baseball, you and I, and we don't always agree on everything, but we see the game, I think, in a similar way. And we sort of realized it'd be fun to, like, people are always ranking things and picking the go to this and that. And it's often, you need a lot of words to explain these things, right? It's easy to take what everybody else has already said and just ape that. But what I find when I dig in, Brian, it's a whole different world, and how we look at things and what we value individually and how we get there. So I guess talk a little bit about when we realized, hey, we should do more of this on the show. Talk a little bit about that, but also talk about how you see and you rate. Like, what are some of your rules of thumb, maybe, is what I want to ask you.
Well, I mean, the bat supersedes all, basically. When it comes down to it, like, I'm all about, I'm not all about 3 true outcomes and power and walks, and I'm not all about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, the bat, I think a lot of guys, like, we're talking catchers, I don't think Mike Piazza gets enough credit. I mean, Mike Piazza is far and away the best hitting catcher of all time. Like, it's right. I mean, Josh Gibson's there, and I know he has that great reputation and everything. It's hard to think that Gibson as a catcher in a higher quality league would ever hit as good as Mike Piazza. I mean, Piazza's just that good. Gibson's probably going to get moved off catcher like Jimmy Fox anyway because of how good his bat is. You know what I mean? He's probably not going to be a catcher in a higher quality league and stuff like that. But man, you almost forget how good Piazza was. Like, there's people talked a lot of dirt about his defense, and then the Clemens thing, and people were calling him gay and all that stuff. And there's a lot to distract. There's a lot to distract from how good of a hitter he was. But man, he was hitting 362 with 40 bombs in 97 against relief pitching. Like, Gibson ain't facing that. Like, guys back, Gabby Hartnett, he is not facing that. Bench faced a lot of relief pitching, but he blows Johnny Bench away with the bat. Right. Like, you got to be something to blow Johnny Bench away with a bat.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny Bench he's many people's greatest. And look, I've got no beef with that. If that's the guy you want, great. It doesn't matter because if I pick a different guy, they're never going to play on the field together. So no. And why not Johnny Bench? Well, why not Josh Gibson? Why not Gabby Hartnett? Whoever it's going to be. But the reality is Mike Piazza's on-base percentage for his career at catcher is 380 plus. It's not 390, but it's 380 plus. 380, man.
Yeah, the whole career is ridiculous. He's slugging 638 the 1 year, 609. Like, man, just a monster, dude.
Yeah. So one of the things that we get wrapped up in, and we because it's comfortable to say what everybody else. Oh, Johnny Bench is the greatest, and you know me, I'm big on games played. And let me do a little bit of a thing on games played here for a second. As you graduate up the games played list, right? This shouldn't shock anybody, and we're talking specifically at catcher, which is context, right? If you take that out, you're like, greatest baseball player ever. Well, you didn't say catcher, so it can be anybody. Greatest outfielder ever. Oh, well, that can be anybody who played outfield for this many games. But when you're talking greatest catcher ever, if you play games at second base, you're not a catcher in that game, and so Pete doesn't count that, right? So games played at the position. This is elemental to me. It's not the end all be all.
Well, they say at catcher, dude, that's even more important.
It's so hard.
It's way more important than any other position affecting your offense.
On your offense, on your presence, on your attendance, like, just because you play catcher, you may be in the game and may be able to get the job done, but your hand's so busted up that you are 50% of the hitter you are, and the guy behind you is less. I mean, it's crazy, the gap between starter and bench player at catcher.
Yeah. I mean, they're still taking the beating. I mean, their knees are probably a little healthier with the one knee down. I'm sure that helps with the knee problems, but they're still taking the beat. And I don't know. Remember? Well, I'm a little younger than you, but they had knee savers in the late 90s. They came around.
Those couches.
I don't think you're allowed. I don't think you were ever allowed to use them in the bigs. I don't remember ever seeing that. Do they? I don't think they use them.
I don't know. I don't
think they ever were.
I want to get into how hard it was to catch in a second here. But, I mean, I can tell you, I ran through some numbers to understand this, and this goes back to the games played. So, and I know people on X hate subtlety, but games played is not the only category, but it is elemental. You have to be on the field. So whether you're for Jeter at shortstop, it's a huge advantage to having the most time at that position. No one plays shortstop more than Jeter. That means you have to be good to be out there.
Yeah.
And you can say whatever else you want to say about that, but that's a mark of success. And so when you look at that, when you look at games played, how do you test for that? Well, I started looking at catchers, and here's what I found out. If you look, and I did at first, I did 1901 to 1965 just to give a nice fat swath of how many catchers played, and I just started at 100 to 300 games at the position, right? And I figured there'd be pages and pages of these guys, but there was not. And so,
Yeah.
and again, I used the 65 year window, so 1901 and 1965, really 66, and there were it's going to be surprising, 149 dudes. That's it.
I
I
honestly thought
mean,
there would have been less.
oh well. I mean, it's
I
it's
really
two a
did.
year. It's two
Yeah.
a year.
That's true.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
that played that, and so you're like, who else played catcher? Where did they do? Where did they get these guys?
Right.
And that's only 100 to 300 games. It's crazy. And then I did. So I went up the chain and I opened it all the way up to 2000. So I am going to cut off, and I'm not going to mention for the most part the guys whose careers I cut off if they missed any time at catcher. So if you're talking about, I don't know, anybody who crossed over past 2000 and kept playing, I probably won't mention them, but they're still in this list. So it's a little bit of noise in the number.
Mhm.
From 301 to 500 games, um, from 1901 to 2000, there's just 132 dudes.
Yeah.
That's 100 years.
Yeah.
And there's only 132 dudes that played catcher 300 to 500 games. 500 to 700, 81. 700 to 900, just not that many guys.
No.
It's so crazy. Look at that number. I didn't write that down. That number is 60. And it's guys like Junior Ortiz, Bob Brenly, BJ Surhoff, Dan Wilson. These are names everybody knows. Dave Duncan, Ray Fosse, Joe Torre. There's a lot of dudes who you're like, wait, that guy only played, 700 and 900 games at catcher. Yeah, that's right. Because it's that hard to do. Scott Service. No, he played the 2000, so maybe he played longer. But there's a lot of names in there. Joe Ferguson from the Dodgers only had 765 games. That's how hard this position is Joe Ferguson's one of the greatest catchers in Dodger history,
Yeah.
and he just has 700 games. 700 games won't even get you mentioned in the outfield in terms of the
Right.
greatest list.
Right. That's 5 years.
Yeah. As you go up the list, when I was giving that list of 709, that's a lot of really good ball players. Guys who had real careers. They might have played 6 to 15 years in the big leagues. But that's how hard it is to just get onto the field 2,000 times. And there's only so many catchers that get into 2,000 games. So just to simply get to 2,000 to survive, everybody around you is one of the greatest catchers ever. Right. Let me grab this thing. Okay. So do you want to rank these guys? You want to talk about how you got your top 10 or top 5? Can you hear me? Are you stuck? I think he's stuck. Maybe I'm stuck. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick Brian out. Have him come back. All right. So in terms of catchers, the thing I wanted to make my list. Okay. So I got, and these are roughly in order. Maybe they're a little bit out of order. I changed my mind. I'm not too firm on these things, but all of these guys are in the top 10. So you have Pudge the Younger, Pudge the Elder, and I'd probably go Piazza. I could flip Pudge the Elder and Piazza, but for right now, we'll just say that's the answer there. And then I'm going to go Yogi. And this is where, it's not just games played. Yogi played a lot of games at catcher. He's got a load of rings at catcher, and he was such a great, to get to the very tippity top, you have to have great offense and great defense. And even if your defense isn't elite, but your bat is, it bounces. But there's got to be more of a balance. You can't just be a glove first catcher and get to the greatest list. Bench is the next guy on the list. Gabby Hartnett, Gary Carter, Al Simmons. And I put Yadier Molina in there because Yadier is really good. So I think we got Brian back. Hey, Brian, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. I just texted you. I thought it was maybe you, but I guess my internet went down.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just giving my top 10. So roughly in order, I've got Pudge, the Pudges, Pudge the Younger, Pudge the Elder.
Yeah.
and I was talking to also to get to this end of the list, you've got to have good offense, good defense, great, really in both, and to survive that long and to play that long, and obviously tough as nails. So the Pudges, and then I have like Mike Piazza, and you could get me to switch Pudge the Elder and Piazza around. You might be able to talk me
Yeah.
to Pudge or Piazza being first, but also and I have Yogi because of the rings. He's fourth. It means something. You don't have to count the postseason when you play that much postseason ball and you do that well in the postseason and win that. It outweighs someone who doesn't have that pedigree. Then I'd probably go bench and Dickey. You can get me to swap either one of those. Hartnett, Carter, Simmons, Molina. Those are my guys. Who are your top
Top
catchers?
10, I'm going Gibson, Piazza, bench, Pudge. I love Pudge, man. I want to put. I want big part of me wants to put Pudge number one. I love Pudge growing up,
Yeah,
dude. I mean, how many catchers can go 2020?
so
I
rare,
mean,
so rare.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, dude, a natural leader. Like what he did in 2003 with the Marlins. He caught that
yeah,
ball in the DS. Jeff Conine made that throw from basically deep shortstop in left field and gunned down JT Snow.
yeah,
Crushed Pudge.
yeah.
Pudge gets up with the ball in his hand, showing it to everybody. It was awesome, dude.
Such a great player. Yeah,
Killed it, and
yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure he was MVP of the Bartman series.
Yeah,
Pudge MVP of
yeah.
that
I mean,
series.
it's crazy to say that, but that series turns on one of the Alex Gonzalez's not just turning a double play like he had so many times during the year.
Yeah,
And man, Kerry Wood came out in that game, bombed a home run, was ringing dudes up, and they just oh my gosh! I lived at Wrigley that year. I lived across the
yeah.
street in one of the rooftop
What a
houses.
year
Yeah.
that was, dude, for
Oh
baseball.
my god, it was bananas. It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, Pudge is great. Pudge was the first player younger than me to
Really?
get into baseball. Yeah, so I got to see his entire career, and I watched him just get better and better and better. Like those first 6 years, like how good is this guy going to
Yeah,
be? Because he actually exceeded the hype, and he had a lot of hype.
he did. Yeah, and he definitely exceeded. I mean, then he goes to the Tigers in '06, and they have that young pitching staff. Shepherds them to the playoffs, to the World
Yeah,
Series. They lost to what,
yeah,
the Cardinals.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's another thing about catchers, the leadership is working the pitching staff, obviously, shepherding
yeah.
guys through that. Like, and he's dealing with guys in the pen. They had Joel Zamaya there. He was freaking cranking it wild. Fernando
Right.
Rodney was there.
Yeah,
Jason
yeah.
Grilly.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. I was going to bring up this guy in a different time, but I'll talk about him now because he's really not talked about for his role as a catcher because he really was just barely. He's one of these guys that played a few hundred games, but his name is Bobby Bragan, and he's famous for a couple of reasons. Bobby was one of the guys that said, "Get me off these Dodgers. I'm not playing with Jackie Robinson."
Huh.
And yeah,
I
yeah,
never I
and the
never heard of him.
Mahatma. Oh yeah, no. Well, if you read all that history, he usually comes up, and it comes up for this reason. But and by the way, at shortstop, he could pick it. He was good. But World War II happened, and he couldn't really hit the curveball, so he had to find a different job. Big brain though in that kid, and so the Mahatma says, if he was white and he performed, would you care if he plays like that? Everything else, and he's like, yeah, I can wrap my head around that. And so he he and Ricky figured out how to keep him on the team. And then the next thing you know, he's like, hey, Jackie Robinson's really good. I want to play with this guy. And he flipped. He goes from being, and I think this is an important social commentary thing. We often just package this up as like, ooh, evil white people, and Jackie Robinson saves the day. Now, there are people on both sides that had to wrap their heads around how to play together. Will this
Yeah.
business model survive? It's easy to look back now and say, oh, it's an obvious thing. But you're making a dramatic change in your business,
Hmm.
how people lived. There's like Jim Gilliam and the other players that integrate a little later. It was like, oh, it's going to be hard for him because of these attitude things, because of the separation had been so permanent, so real. It was tough for some guys to make the jump over. And so a guy like Bobby is a great example of that, where it didn't seem to him like he could handle it. Tried it, it worked, and we moved forward. But
Yeah.
this wasn't a simple, just it wasn't a simple thing. It was very hard for a lot of people to figure out how to deal with this.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes how many. It always seems to me like the white players were always more open to integration than they're given credit for. Like
Yeah,
just from reading
I
reading
think so.
stuff about barnstorming over the years and everything. Like, Ty Cobb gets a bad reputation, dude. I read an article the other day. The Tigers went down to Cuba and played they were playing Havana, but they had like John Henry Lloyd on the team and Home Run Johnson and
Right.
basically a whole
Yeah.
black team. And Pop Lloyd wrote a letter to this black newspaper in Baltimore. He said Ty Cobb and the Tigers treated them all like gentlemen, didn't have any
Right.
problems with them, and all that. Like guys were touring together, barnstorming together. Hotels would hire Negro leaguers to work there, and then they could scrimmage the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the white players and the black players were a lot more aware of each other than people give credit for. I think they
Yeah.
mostly. I think they kind of knew. Like if you would see, they would see each other on the street. I think a lot of them would know each other or recognize each
Sure.
other.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, because they had that experience of playing together. But the business side of it didn't. They didn't
No.
know how the crowds were going to respond. You take any prominent black brand today and say, hey, you got to have more white people in your brand. Ebony magazine, Jet magazine, or whatever it's going to be. And so you have to have a bunch of white people in there. And you got to get them on. It'd be hard. They'd be like, wait, but our market is black people. And
Right.
so, it's easy to say and spend someone else and risk someone else's money and spend someone else's money. This, look, don't get me wrong, everybody. I know subtlety's hard here. I love that we broke the color barrier, and then it kept breaking and breaking because it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
just Jackie.
No.
There were so many barriers, sub
Willard
barriers in there.
Willard
Yeah,
Brown had a real tough time in St. Louis with the Browns.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think Hank
Well,
Thompson Hank Thompson was there with him too. I think they had a real shitty time.
right, and if they weren't up to the task, emotionally, physically, whatever it was, that's a heavy, heavy weight to put on the backs of your people. I mean, here's
Hmm.
Jackie tearing it up, and Jackie kind of came out of nowhere with baseball. He wasn't supposed to be as great as he was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right man for the
Yeah,
job. Like they said, Ricky selected him for his personality as much as anything else too.
yeah,
You
right.
were talking.
I
So, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No. You know who J.G. Taylor Spink is?
No, uh-uh.
Sporting News. Well, he
No.
used to. He used to have his name on a major award at the Hall of Fame. I can't remember
Oh,
what
okay. I know
the
about.
award
Yep.
was, but they
Mm-hmm.
removed
Speak
his
word.
name
Yeah.
from it. I man, I read what he wrote along. He wrote it back in the late '40s, like right after World War II, about integration. And I read it years ago. I haven't read it, but I don't know. I don't think it was very fair that he got banned for that. Like they took
Right.
his name, not banned, but they took his name off. He basically said that we got to be careful how we integrate because we don't want to invite a lynch mob to the ballpark. You know what I mean? Like we got to make sure we
Yeah.
do this the right way. And I
Yeah.
guess looking
Yeah.
back, that's not good enough. I don't know, but they took
Yeah.
his
I
name
mean,
off
I,
of
I
the
don't know either. What? It's so hard to be candid and talk about things that are real, but also not offend anybody because emotion takes over so fast when race comes up. You know,
yeah.
it's even like right now, like I'm trying to think about how to say I did not include Campanella, Gibson. I'm leaving the other big Negro League catchers escape me right now, but I didn't include those guys because I don't know how to put them in the context at the time. Now,
Right.
if I'm going to say I'm going to include Negro Leaguers, then yeah, they're in the top 10, because they're great. But I don't know how to equate that given the model that I'm using, which is pretty much no holds barred except for catcher, and that's it.
Yeah.
Who is the best.
Yeah. It
And
ain't easy
yeah, and I feel a bit bad about that. But
mixing those guys.
obviously,
Yeah.
Campanella is great. He won multiple MVPs. But in
Right.
my model, it just let me just say this about games played. Babe Ruth and Nick Markakis, right? Babe Ruth plays about half the games in the right field that Nick Markakis does. And so I bet that Babe Ruth is more valuable in those 1,100 games than Nick Markakis was in those 2,000 games. The way
Right.
Pete sees this as, but what happens at 1,101 games, or whatever the number is for Babe, we'll just say it's 1,101. That first game when he can't show up and stand in right field, but Nick is there, still being an excellent ball player. And then the next 1,100 games, Babe Ruth isn't there. So,
Yeah.
yes, he was titanic in these 1,100. And maybe that mountain is taller and more robust than Nick's mountain. But it is a skinny mountain.
Right.
And the Nick's mountain range goes longer. And so there is value in the fact that he's there and playing at a high level for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to kind of go back to the Negro Leaguers years
Please.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is probably 15 years ago by now. Baseball Think Factory had something called the Hall of Merit. A guy named Eric Chalik, I think his name was Dr. Chalico on there. Eric Chalik, and I think it was Chris Cobb, did this Hall of
Okay.
Fame thing where they created major league equivalencies for Negro leaguers and stuff like that. And by their calculations, I think they said that Negro League OPS plus, well, rate stats or whatever would drop basically 15%. You want to, as a rule, drop their numbers 15% if they were playing in a in
Yeah.
the major league.
Yeah.
That's what those guys come up. Those guys know way more about that shit than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
always said.
Yeah. It's I mean, that is a way to calculate it. And if you and I went in and did equal quality work, we can come up with a different number, because it is unknowable. And you
It
can kind of
is.
just thumb it and be like, that's good enough. That's going to be our guess. Let's write about that. And that's sort of how these things go. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying there's a lot of possibilities for right to look like something else. And maybe
Yeah.
Gibson comes up and it turns out he doesn't have to catch every day and he slides over to first because there's another guy who is better at sitting back there. I'm not saying he's a better catcher, but it's like, hey, let's not get Josh all beat up at catcher
Yeah.
and have him play. Anything can happen in those cases.
One thing about the Negro leagues too is that they didn't play as often as the major leagues, so Gibson had more time in between starts to recover from his
Right? Yeah.
catching duties too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
People, yeah. I mean, people don't like to hear it, but the Negro leagues, they weren't as high quality as the major leagues. Like it's just it's just the truth. It's not saying the players
So,
weren't as talented, but they weren't as organized. Like
yep.
you have a lot of
And
old players,
yeah.
a lot of young players, a lot of guys pitching, a lot of guys playing the field. Those are all Bill
Yeah.
James cited all those as signs your league was weak 25 years ago.
Right.
And they are. Those are signs
Yeah.
you have a weak league. Like I'm not saying the Negro National League and they should definitely be major leagues.
Sure.
But I mean they just weren't as good.
And when by that measure, the Japanese leagues need to be a major league, at some point. And I don't know what those numbers are, but we see these guys regularly coming over, not just being decent, but being good ball players. And so
Yeah.
it's not fair to say quadruple A because quadruple A is major league.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what it is. So
it's the injured list.
Jeez, that's another major league right there. Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah. So the ranking thing, I think it's interesting.
Shoot, yeah.
And okay, so let me I'll be honest about bench and why he's not first for me. And it's all games played. It's all games played. Yes, he's elite with the glove. Yes, he was elite with the bat. But at some point he gets cancer. He has an operation and he's not that player anymore.
That's right, he's back.
Yeah, and he he gets stuck in a spot where, hey, it's he's not going to play third or short catch all the time. He's going to play third a little bit, and that starts to erode his ability, that purity at catcher, and it just takes games away. So of course he's great, but Pudge the Younger is just greater.
There's definitely an argument that Pudge is greater than Bench. I love Bench, man. I had a hard time putting Bench 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Talk about a guy that was hyped coming up, dude. They were calling him Mickey Cochran in like '68.
Yeah.
He was freaking hyped.
Yeah.
Big hands.
And listen, everybody, deservedly so. He was really, really good. I mean, it's not that he sucks. It's that we're at the very tips of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
We get wrapped up in how players are ranked, and we don't think about mean, median, and mode, and where these guys are somewhere in that line of catchers. And it's not the replacement player; it's way lower than that, where you get to that bell curve of quality or presence. And these guys are all the way on the other end of the curve, on the flat part, where it's like, oh, we got to keep riding the curve out to the final number. That's where all these guys live. And so there's just not much difference between a Cochran, a Bench, and a Pudge. They're really they are a lot more alike than they are like the median, because they're so far off to the depending on which way you look at the curve, but far off to the right of the curve.
Didn't Bench pioneered catching with one hand, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean that's the way I know it. Yeah.
Dude, when I was in Little League, the dads would get so mad if you caught with one hand. You're not Johnny Bench out there.
Yeah, they would say that. Really, that much later, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I caught when I was a kid. I was in Little League. Little League stories coming up. And I did two things that taught me a lesson. I only needed one time to learn them. I didn't have the kind of knee guards that went over your knee. They went to the front of your knee. And so I was warming up a pitcher, and I was just on my knees, kind of just warming him up. And one of the balls went low and thunked me on the kneecap. And I'm like, never again, better to crouch. So I always crouched after that. And then the other thing was I had my hand out there and I got meat palmed. I was like, oh my God. And then, of course you can't make a peep about being hurt when you're a catcher. You bump into somebody in the outfield, you can lay on the ground for 30 minutes and call an ambulance. And they'll be like, oh my, and then you can have the miraculous recovery. Catcher, you just got to eat it. You just got to take it. And I'm like, I'm never going to leave my hand exposed again. Because I did try to catch like this. And sometimes I would have to capture the ball because it's little league. No way,
Yeah.
man. One-handed
Yeah.
is the only way to go.
Uh-huh. Yeah, people
Yeah.
people didn't like that even when I was a kid.
Yeah. So we got a lot of crossover. Let me just do my list again. Let's see where you and I disagree. And obviously, you have Gibson, and I think you had Campanella in there. So I've got the Pudges, Yogi, Piazza, Dickey, Bench, Hartnett, Carter, Simmons, and Molina. So you don't have Molina, and I don't
Nah.
think you had Simmons. Ted.
No, where'd I get to? I think I got Gibson, Piazza, Bench, Pudge, Barra, Carter, Cochran, Campy, Fisk, Hartnett, Dickey. Dickey's 11th. I put Dickey in there because I mean I can't have Hartnett
Man,
and
and
Cochran on there without Dickey.
yeah, Dickey is the only thing he really lacks are the extra base hits. But in his era, you know,
Yeah.
he's fine. He's the best catcher from that era.
I
So
put I put Cochran and Hartnett ahead of Dickey just because they player managed while they were catching
uh huh
too, and Dickey didn't. And
yeah
plus, Hartnett, dude, he took over the Cubs partway through the one season, led him to the World Series. I
yeah
think they fired Charlie Grimm and put Hartnett in there in like September. Then he goes and hits the homer in the Gloman on the last day of the season to clinch it.
yeah
That's
yeah.
big. It's a big
Man,
deal.
that Gloman, that's something
Yeah,
else.
that Gloman, dude. That Gloman will get you.
Well, Wrigley has that, right? They
It
still
does.
have this thing where yeah, the lights are on, but you look around outside and you're like, damn, and it gets scary dark, and sometimes the sky is it's the Midwest. The sky is green sometimes, and there's
Yeah.
just these weird things, and that ballpark is probably the most. It is. I'll just say what I want to say. Wrigley is the most complex ballpark because it can be a different ballpark every day of the year.
With the wind.
And when that late evening stuff comes, when they transition from afternoon to evening, weird things happen with the ball.
Yeah.
The
Shadows
right
and
field there isn't physically enormous. I got subtlety here, but it plays gigantic. You know how
yeah.
you always see balls go on waveland and there's hawks that stand out there?
Yeah.
The Hawks don't stand over on Sheffield.
True.
They don't. So yes, you can reach that spot, everybody, but it's not like no one's ever hit a ball on a rooftop in right field. Barry
I
Bonds
never
came
thought about
close in
that.
batting practice. He broke a window in our building. But
Dang.
yeah, it's big.
Even
Let's get
batting
back to you have Piazza lower than I do. I have him third because I'm all
No, I have him
about that
second,
bat.
dude.
But you
I've
have him
got him
second.
second.
Okay. My bad.
I'm sure that's going to blow a lot of people away, dude. I just don't think people realize how good he freaking was with the bat.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
steroid usage overshadowed him. He
Yep.
lost that MVP to freaking Larry Walker, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Probably
I
should
mean,
have
that's how that
more
goes, though.
MVPs.
Also, the perception that was a god awful defender, I just don't see that.
He's a
Did he
weak
have
arm.
pass balls? Sure, but that's easily covered by extra base hits.
Yeah. Dude,
We're talking a fraction of a percent of the balls he interacts with go by him, and so the difference is it's not depending on how you look at it, it's not even 2 balls a month that get by him as opposed to Pudge. Like there's just not much difference there. You're never going to see it on the field. You're going to be like, yeah, this guy's a good catcher. He's not elite, but he wasn't bad.
right. No, I would never say Mike Piazza was a good defensive catcher. But, I mean, his numbers are straight out of Jimmy Fox's line in the 30s, dude.
Yeah,
346, 32 bombs,
yeah.
362, 40, 328, 32. Like, from a catcher,
Yeah.
just,
In 1,600 games, he had 705 extra base hits, with almost 400 of those being home runs and then 300 being doubles. That's basically how that breaks down.
yeah,
And
427 bombs, yeah.
yeah, that's the total, right? I'm just giving you
Yeah.
catcher numbers.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so the most bombs for sure by 40, by 40 bombs, and then doubles. He's pretty good at doubles too. He's kind of mid tier for the elite of the elites. He has 300. Uh, Pudge has more. He has 500. But different ballparks, slightly different era, maybe different league,
Oh,
and
yeah, I mean, yeah.
a lot of his balls just went over the fence.
Right. I mean, Texas,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is what it is down there.
yeah. Who's underrated, man? Who do you think? Maybe he's in the top 20 or top 25, and we just don't think about it all.
I mean, I don't see how so many people don't think Joe Mauer belongs in the Hall of Fame. Like there's
Yeah.
some debate. I didn't think there would be any debate about that when he got in. Like people, the guy won 3 batting titles as a catcher, crouching on AstroTurf, hometown boy, first round pick. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get it. There's people questioning Molina's credentials. Like he
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
do
he's
enough,
pretty
dude.
good.
Good Lord, man! And he was an offensive threat the last year Pujols was there, and the couple
Yeah.
years afterwards, he was batting third, batting fourth in the order,
Yeah. Yeah.
putting up almost 100 RBIs, batting 300. Like he should have won
Yeah.
MVP one of those years. I was pretty bummed he didn't win MVP. I love Molina.
He played basically 2,200 games behind the plate. 2184. That's how many he played, right? And so, yeah, sure, his on base percentage is a little bit low, but he had maybe the elite glove at the position, maybe not, but he's in the conversation
Oh,
about it.
dude, he is yes, yes, he is
Yeah,
definitely in the
yeah,
conversation. When
yeah.
you
Didn't have
touch
a lot of power,
younger,
but that's all right, because he still hits 400 doubles. That
yeah,
like it does take power to do that.
and,
So
and he's the Ozzie Smith of
yeah,
catching, basically the modern Ozzie Smith of catching. Pudge is up there. Pudge is up there with
yep,
Molina. Ray Schalk's up there with Molina.
yeah,
Like
yep, yeah. There's a
Jason
bunch of
Kendall.
guys you could talk about with the
We
glove
were
thing.
talking about Jason Kendall. As far as
Oh
athletic
yeah,
catchers go, I mean, how many
yeah.
guys can lead off and catch? Brandon Inge could probably lead off and catch. He was a good athlete as
No,
a catcher.
no, no. Did Biggio lead off when he caught? I think so.
A little
I,
bit.
I think. Yeah, it's with Kendall. He's sixth all time in games played at catcher.
Yeah,
That to me is already like a massive. I mean, and again, subtlety here, everybody. That is a Hall of Fame attribute. 2,000 games at catcher to survive that long to
dude.
play. Yeah, he doesn't have the greatest offense, but Jesus Christ, his durability is off the charts.
Dude, I
Like
think
if made him a video game character, his durability would be 500.
yeah, I think he might have the highest games caught percentage out of all his games. The games he could have caught, like all their games played out of 162.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he
probably
might.
true.
I used to have a list of that somewhere, and I don't know where the hell it is.
Yeah, he played a lot of games. Bench played a lot of games early on too, and I don't know how he did that. And I will say this, like him getting a bit of a break, like putting him somewhere like first or something for some of those games, that might have helped him out. Let me just take a look here and see how many. So his games played at catcher, right? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He had a season where he played in 154 games in a 162 season.
I mean,
He's
that's
got a season of 139, 141, 147, 137, 135, 134. That's a dude who's basically playing every day. There's a lot of good players that miss a month of the year, and
yeah,
they're not playing catcher.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, bench man. I had bench number one for most of my life. And then
yeah.
one of my buddies started talking to me about how good Piazza was and how underrated he was, and I started looking into it, and I was like, "Damn,
All right,
Piazza
so I got
didn't
an
get more
underrated.
credit."
I got an underrated guy for you.
Let me hear it.
AJ Przinsky is
Oh,
is.
dude, I watched that game live where he punched Michael Barrett in the face.
Oh, that
Michael
fight,
Barrett punched him in
yeah,
the
yeah,
face.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That was
That was
that was
awesome.
big.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but he's durable, had a good bat, could lead his team in terms of pitching, tough as fuck, and tough on his team and everything.
Yeah,
That's just if you picked him, like you picking 12th, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take AJ Przinsky. You've made a good pick,
yeah,
you know. Gabby Harnett's already gone. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take him. You're not going to take as great as his bat was. You're not taking Ernie Lombardi above him, and Ernie
right.
Lombardi's a Hall of Famer legitimately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Krasinski. They don't. I'm gonna sound like an old man. Almost seems like they don't make him like that anymore. He was
Yeah,
it just seemed like a firebrand, angry kind of dude.
yeah.
I was a big
Who
fan of
else
the
do you
guy.
got for under? But you got Kendall and Przinsky that we talked about. Who else did you get?
Oh, well, I forgot about this guy. I guess he only played part of his career in the big leagues. He only played like 4 or 5 years in the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Reba, his name is. He
Mm.
came up with the Cardinals in the 30s. I forgot about this guy. So he played most of his career in the minor leagues. All right, but he's a catcher. He's like a double duty Radcliffe. He's a catcher and he's pitching in the minors at the same time.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
so 1930, he gets out of the coal mines. He escapes the coal mines. He's 27 years old. 1930, Class C, Scottsdale Western League, bats 356, MVP, goes 3-0 on the mound. Next year, 342, MVP, 3-0 on the mound. Next year
Dang.
has a bad year. Year after that, wins the batting title, 380. 1934, he bats 377, goes 12-3 on the mound. Dude, 377
Catching and
as a
pitching.
catcher.
That's the
Yeah,
two hardest jobs.
yeah, dude goes 12-3 on the mound. Wins the MVP. Next year he goes 20-8, bats 313. Then he's up with the Cardinals. Then in 39 he goes 18-12, and then he's managing the team, goes 24-8 and wins MVP again.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
four minor league MVPs in the 30s like that, managing.
Crazy.
The 1 year he managed, he said he had to drive the bus, take the tickets, do everything, dude. He was just
I'm sure. Well, this goes back to Bobby Bragan, who, has to move to catcher because he can't do short. Plays catcher, and he's not the primary guy, and he's all right. But he's not good enough for the majors, and so Ricky puts him down and says, "Go play and manage." I think it was AAA or whatever it was, and he did a hell of a job. And he built this amazing guys. Everybody should go read him. I'll put his link to his bio on Saber. An incredible baseball life, and he just crossed so many. World War II happens, Jackie Robinson happens. He's guiding all these players that come up and do great things. And you may not think he's a Hall of Famer. He probably isn't. But if you put a baseball life into perspective, it's a Hall of Fame baseball life.
yeah.
He did so much stuff. It's just we don't see it because a lot of it was in the minors, getting players ready for us to love.
Yep. Yeah, those guys, man, they don't get enough credit. So many dude, and we could talk about that. Talk about a baseball life. How many catchers become managers, dude?
Yeah,
Become front office guys just because they know all the intricacies of the game.
yeah, that's true. Bobby Bragan. All right, here we go. I'm going to put his link here, everybody. You can always look up on Saber. You can look these guys up. It's a great resource if you like baseball.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And these bios are fantastic. They're so long and meaty. So there you go for that. I kicked myself out of the show. I was pushing too many buttons.
Sitting on cords again, Pete.
Sitting on cords. I was going to say one of the catchers that I found was this guy named Nunemaker, and his
Hal
Nunemaker. Yeah, and he's one of these guys that just didn't play very long, but he played with guys like Tom McGraw or John McGraw and Ty Cobb. You and I talked about Pat Collins off mic a while back. And there's so many of these names where either of us might be like, who? What? Wait, what's going on? And so Pat Collins is the primary catcher during the Murderer Row Yankees years. He's a two-time World Series champion. And his caddy, although they swapped roles and the caddy became the premier guy, was a guy named Johnny Grabowski. So Johnny Grabowski and Pat Collins played for those Murderers Row Yankees and won 2 rings apiece. You'd never know about these guys. But you know what? For their era, they were championship grade players. And sure, one's on the bench and one's doing the catching. But that's sort of how catcher seems to go. When I was looking through all these guys that don't have very long careers, Chris Hoyles is a Baltimore catcher, right? Oh, everybody knows about Chris Hoyles. Didn't play catcher that long. Just doesn't survive. And so when we look at the Hall of Fame and what grades out, I'm not saying Chris Hoyles is a Hall of Famer. I'm saying when you see how short these careers are and how few guys can play even 1,000 games, it's amazing that they make it as far as they do. And pretty hard on a guy like Kendall, who goes out and plays 2,000 games when most guys can't even play 1,000. Like they physically can't make it.
You think Posey's making the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he'll make it in.
I think he's going to make it.
Yeah. I'm pretty hard on games played. You know that. And I'm also hard on saying if you're going to tell me that Mauer is getting in because he's a catcher, like, okay, but there's a lot of catchers who did more. He was more brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can draw the line between brilliance and like Titanic careers,
right?
And I can say somewhere in between there's a delta, and guys who aren't in the middle, okay, they don't get to go in. And Mauer for sure is a Hall of Famer, but it's fringy, right? It's fringy to say he's this incredible catcher because he didn't do it as long as the other great catchers did. Not changing. And Posey's in the same boat, But Posey was a great player. But he's on the field. It's like he has his brilliance is over the top, and he's got those rings. That makes a difference.
Yeah, he was a great leader for that team. Handling all those pitchers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, calling the games that Bumgarner threw together. This is not catcher talk, but I wanted to ask you this: if you could trade, and this is probably not as relevant as it was, but I used to ask people if you could have Bumgarner's World Series dominance or Kershaw's careers before Kershaw even had 2 rings, which one would you want? And it's because Bumgarner was a great regular season pitcher, but not a god like Kershaw is in the regular season.
Yeah. Bumgarner, man, a lot changed. A lot changed in the middle of Bumgarner's career.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember what happened to him that he went down. I don't think it had anything to do with trying the all or nothing approach. Because he came up like Kershaw did, kind of with the old school. You want to go as long as you can, blah blah blah.
hmm
I don't know. I
yeah,
think that I always kind of thought that had something to do with Bumgarner kind of falling off. I thought Bumgarner
right.
could have turned into like almost a Jack Morris back in like 14, 15, whatever. And then
hmm
once Verlander went to Driveline or whatever he did, and everything started changing, it was like, oh man, he ain't coming back.
Right.
Bumgarner ain't coming back. But I would take Kershaw's career over Bumgarner's postseason.
Yeah, especially now that he's got the 2 rings, even though last year's ring was sort of, like he wasn't really there
Even
that much for it. But
even before that, dude, I'm taking Kershaw over
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
day.
yeah. It's hard to be a better pitcher than Kershaw. You can go for some like Nolan Ryan type character who plays a long time, or or a Young or Walter Johnson. But it's hard to be. It's hard to be bad. I know folks don't like to hear it, but he just
No,
doesn't allow that many guys on base.
no. How about the other year? Well, 10 years ago, probably, where Kershaw first game of the season, he hits that. They leave him in for the top of the ninth. He hits that home run, then pitches a
Yeah,
shutout, wins it 1-0.
yeah,
What a
yeah.
performance
Well,
that
this is
was!
the thing. Like with Skeens, he'd have more run support if he pitched more,
Yeah,
because he just would be around. So yeah,
yeah,
he's got 3.3 or whatever it is runs per game. Well, pitch 3 more innings, and they'll give you
yeah.
another run, and maybe that'll be enough to get you over the top. Because Sandy Koufax didn't need 5 runs a game to do what he did.
Right.
And so there, and again, I know subtlety's hard, but folks hate that. Like, no, if you stay in the game, and he can't hit, but if you stay in the game and your team scratches that 1 run you need, then there you go. You're going to lose a lot of those games. There's a
Hmm.
risk, but also, you know, you get more runs scored.
Yeah.
You're only giving your team 6 innings to score those runs to get you to win.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just ran a thing on catchers who play over 1,000 games, and the list is so short. I'm just like, is that everybody? Is that really everybody? And again, we don't have all the modern catchers, but completely open bore on from 1901 to today, and catchers with 1,000 games. This is in the entire history of the game.
Yeah.
121, just 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's 10 years of being the starter with a backup who does the other third of the year for you.
Anyone stand
Yeah.
out to you there on that list? You didn't think was there?
In terms of like Luke Sewell's in there. There's all kinds of interesting dudes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed.
And obviously the greats. Brian McCann stands out for being pretty high in
Talk
terms
about
of home
underrated.
runs and everything. Obviously Campanella stands out. Benito Santiago, sort of Kendall-esque, right? Maybe
Yeah.
with a bigger bat.
Bigger bang.
He was, that stands out. Who else stands out here? Russell
Tony
Martin, Jason Varitek,
Varitek, man. Yeah. Talk about
Javi
classics.
Lopez, Jorge Posada. These are all great catchers. These are all elite, great catchers.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at
Bob
total
Boone,
bases.
obviously up there, man. People of my parents' generation love Bob Boone.
Yeah. Him and Jim Sundberg. Jim was more of a glove first guy, and those guys had to deal with how do we stop Coleman, Raines, Ricky. How do we stop these guys?
Yeah.
Because we didn't really know, and those weren't the only guys. Willie McGee was stealing. All kinds of dudes were running. Ozzie Smith was stealing. Steve Sachs was stealing. All these dudes are going to. Yeah, I mean, and it's 30 plus bases, often 40, 50 bases. And so those guys, that was their job, and they had to figure out how to do it because everybody knows it's stolen on the pitcher. It's not the catcher's job to do all of it.
Yeah. You didn't see guys stealing 100 base, man. You didn't see stuff like that since dead ball era.
Yeah. And I don't even know if it's possible today. Or I should say, I don't know that it's worth it today. How about that? That's probably what I really want to say.
Right.
Someone like Ellie has to get on base enough, and I'm not convinced that he knows how to get on base enough.
Yeah.
And if your team is good, then there's too many people on base.
Right.
And so it's a very small window to get to 100. And then just all the science of it, if you steal 100 bases, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get injured, and you're not going to be able to play at some point. Whether it's that season or the next season. It just happens.
Do you ever hear Tim Raines talking about how he claimed that Ricky used to pad his stolen base totals by not hustling out doubles and stuff?
You know, that probably is true to some
I think
extent.
it's
I
probably
watched,
true too.
yeah. Well, I mean, I would watch him on ball. He's playing left field, right? And left field is huge in Oakland because of all the foul ground. And he'd see a ball, and he'd look, get right back into his crouch. He wasn't going to move for it. He's like, I'm
Mm,
not running way the fuck over there to go get it. You
yeah,
know, could he have gotten it? Probably not most of the time. I'd left it up to his judgment. But if you didn't want to give him the benefit of the doubt of knowing what's going on, what's valuable, you know, I'd be like, oh, he should have ran for that one. Why? And missed by 20 feet? Because that ball was 150 feet away from him, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And so he didn't want to burn up. So did he do that? I don't know. You know, I'd hate to put that on
I
somebody.
know, dude. I know, especially Ricky, and he just died. But
Yeah.
I
And
couldn't
then there's
never.
like Sheffield. Did he purposely do errors? There's evidence going against that, but
Yeah,
that reputation stayed with him when he was young.
it, yeah. I just
Here's
thought it
another
was.
guy. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought it was funny when I read that from Tim Raines because when I read it, thinking, man, Tim Raines sounds salty about this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and those guys get to be catty with each other, you know?
yeah.
Here's a guy we haven't discussed, Lance Parrish.
Mm,
If you picked in the all time greatest catcher picking draft and there were 30 teams and you got Lance Parrish, guess what? You're stoked,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Guy could mash.
Yeah. And when he retired, he was three all time or something like that when he retired in home runs.
Bombs. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, he played in kind of a small park and everything else, but he did it
Did it.
and did it for a long time.
Yeah. I wonder what the deal is with
So
Bill Freehand that he never got more consideration. 10 All-Star games.
I have him on my list as being underrated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, dude. I still don't get how
He,
he doesn't get
I don't know. I don't
any
know.
love.
You know who else was good? He didn't do enough of it, but if you had him on your team, you'd be stoked. Is Daryl Porter?
Yeah,
Daryl
yeah,
Porter was
yeah.
a good ball player, and
Displaced Ted Simmons.
yeah, and also got over alcohol, which easily. I mean, look, how many catchers ruin their careers with alcohol? You know,
Yeah.
very common to have because, and I say catchers specifically because you're dealing with a lot of pain, you're dealing
Hmm.
with a lot of things, and so if you have a lot of time to kill,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right. That's
there
funny. I see shit like people are like, well, back in the day they were drinking all the time and all this, and I'm just thinking, dude, if you think that has been bred out
yeah,
of pro ball players that they ain't drinking,
yeah,
like, come
yeah,
on, man. I'm not saying it's like 1880s, you know what I mean? But holy hell, they're
yeah.
definitely still freaking boozing.
It's true. It's true. They definitely still boozed, and the there are probably less vices, but I don't know that there are any less like that. It is entirely possible that one of the big five major sports, and I don't know whatever five you want to pick in there, football, UFC, whatever it's going to be. It's entirely possible that next year one of them will die from a fentanyl overdose.
I mean, it already happened
You
in
do
baseball.
recreational. This is not me being anybody's dad, but if you do recreational drugs, that stuff's in that stuff. It can even sneak into legitimate prescription drugs.
Yeah,
And you got a bunch of guys taking Adderall, and you got all kinds of things that lead to problems down the road and probably shorten careers. I don't know. I mean, you
yeah,
don't take steroids and expect to play 20 years.
right. Yeah. I mean, if you're talking safety, I'd take Adderall before I'd take painkillers or steroids
Sure,
as far as safety
sure.
goes.
Yeah,
I mean, I was in
yeah.
college, dude. I took Adderall. Like,
Did you?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all do dumb things. I mean, it's hard for me to judge you on that because I did all kinds of stupid stuff.
yeah,
But I had some easy classes because I was in mass communication. I did my degree, TV, radio, and one of my journalism classes we had to go in and write a news story. Well, my buddy and I talked to ourselves. This is the final for the
right.
year, right? And we're like, well, the best thing to do here is to go play pool in the student union and drink a bunch of fucking beer because that's how journalists do it,
Why not?
And so we got
Yeah,
hammered and then took the test and we did fine. Once you've written like news stories for 12 weeks. Yeah, we're in quarters. Once
yeah,
you write news stories every class for 12 weeks, you know what the teacher wants, and you can
right.
get a
Yeah.
good grade even if you're hammered. But
But
yeah,
hey, dude,
Adderall, whatever.
what were they were doing? What were they talking about? What were they doing when Reggie said he's the straw that stirs the drink, dude? They were drinking,
Yeah,
sitting at a bar drinking.
yeah,
The reporters.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. I would go back to the games played thing, and I know that I'm sort of on my own on this, but think about, and this is hard, but this is how I see it. Thurman Munson probably makes the Hall of Fame if he's just there for the rest of his age 32 season, his age 33, age 34. He wasn't. And so Rick Cerone played. Did that hurt the Yankees? Maybe, I don't know. Is Rick Cerone better than Thurman Munson? Probably not, but,
Yeah.
he did a good job. But that guy's not always waiting in the wings. There's not always a Mickey Mantle to take over in center field. And so when Babe leaves, who plays right field? Someone who's going to be lesser.
Ben
And,
Chapman.
Yeah, Chapman. Well, Chapman, he was taken over by Sewell, so a Hall of Famer took over.
Yeah.
They got better in that case, but that's not the norm. The norm is
Right.
like when Ron Say stops being a third baseman for the Dodgers. They kind of just wander the third base forest for a while until Beltre comes along. In the '90s.
Pedro
that was
Guerrero.
One great to another great. Yeah, Pedro Guerrero at third. Don't hit the ball to Sachs and don't hit the ball to me.
Yeah.
I love
a great
that
quote.
story.
I know.
Yeah. It's so funny. Tommy Lasorda had great stories. I'm looking at catchers, trying to get us back to this whole thing. I wanted to say the word Steinbach. Terry Steinbach, also Minnesota kid, was another guy that handled staffs well, played a lot, and was just a good player. We don't think of him as being great, but if you're going to pile all these catchers together, way off to the right, probably on the hip part of the curve, but he's over there. He's a great player.
Oh yeah,
and we just
yeah.
we can't see those guys. Ramon Hernandez, another guy.
Ooh, wow. Padres, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who else from the Padres that I saw that popped out and caught my eye was there's Steinbach, there's that one, Les Nunemaker, Dan Billardello. I was really digging deep, man.
Never heard of Dan Billardello.
Oh no? Oh, okay, that's a good one. You got to look him up sometime.
Damn.
Here's a good one. The Al Unser, not the driver.
Not Dell.
Mm-mm. And Dell was his kid.
Oh,
Al and
no
Dell. Shit. Yeah, they were related. So Al was a catcher, and Dell, I think, was a pitcher. I think, but yeah, and Al wasn't all that great, but he got somewhere between 100 and 300 games at catcher.
Yeah,
that makes you a major league catcher.
Yeah, and if back in the day, if you're rotating like they were, playing 70 games a year, that's a 10-year career. Is that
Yeah. Who else has surprised me for being way up there in games played? 1,500 is where I put the bar.
Yeah.
Kurt Suzuki.
And,
yeah. And look, 314 on base percentage, 702 player. So you're not like writing home about it, but he also plays in 1,500 games.
I didn't realize he played that many games.
Yeah, he must have 10 years of service time. I'm going to look and see.
He has to. Yeah,
because that's a great barrier there. Like if you have 10 years of service time, you've done something pretty incredible. He does. He gets way past 10 years. He gets 14 years. 14 fucking years, everybody, of service time.
I remember somebody picked him up at the end on a playoff run.
Angels. Angels were his Nationals.
I just remember I thought I remembered someone picking him up for a playoff run.
Well, the Nationals won the World Series in 2019, and he was on that team.
That must be what I'm thinking of.
Maybe.
I wonder how much more time these guys nowadays are spending in meetings with all the pitchers they got to deal with.
Yeah. And there's so much more data to process. It's more than a catcher can hold, except for like those, especially Brainiac guys. That's a lot of stuff to process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, how much more time can they go into the trainer room and do something about whatever's there besides grabbing a bottle of bourbon and going, let me just get a shot and go do this thing?
Yeah, right. Yeah. At least get a cortisone shot.
Yeah. Oh, man, I know it was Brian Johnson from the Padres. That's another guy who, look, this guy was a legitimate, like not a great catcher, but he went out for the Padres and had himself a career. He's a one-WAR player for his whole career, just to give you an idea of where he was. But that catcher is good enough to play in 471 games.
When's he playing? 90s, mid-90s?
Yeah, he played, 94 to 2001 is when he played, And so like him, Charles Johnson, the Johnson brothers. One's white, one's black, but they're still the Johnson brothers to me.
Yeah, Johnson.
Yeah. But that's what a starting or a near starting catcher looks like on a big league club.
Yeah. There's not enough respect given to even backup catchers.
Oh yeah.
what
Yeah,
they
I
got to
was
deal
thinking
with.
about that. Like, we should pick our all-time backup catcher. Like, we'd have to figure out what the context was,
Yeah,
you know. But like Ron Karkovice was a backup catcher, for a
yeah, I've
long
heard of him.
time, and then he finally emerged.
I was
Um,
always partial to like Bobby Estalela and Johnny Estrada, just being a Phillies fan. Todd
sure,
Pratt,
yeah, why not? Yeah, yeah, those guys were behind Mike Lieberthal. Is that right?
dude, love Mike Lieberthal.
Yeah, that's a
So
good catcher.
underrated, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
regular 300 hitter, dude. He was for a while. Do it
Oh,
all.
who else was a 300? Who was the guy from the Twins um, during their championship years? I'll pull it up here in a second. His name's Brian something. I can't think of. It's amazing that you
Harper,
can think of any of these guys.
Brian Harper.
Oh yeah, there you go, Brian
I
Harper.
think.
Yeah, yeah, Brian
Yeah.
Harper. Yeah. Again, you have that guy on your team. Yeah, he's not going to be the world's greatest catcher, you know, but he's going to put the bat on the ball, going to keep you in the game,
Yeah.
and man, that's
So, yeah, so many guys that
hard to
come
do.
up, and I'm just thinking like guys like Earl Beatty with the Twins in the '60s coming up, and he had some
Hmm.
big years. Oh, Elston Howard probably makes the Hall of Fame if he comes up earlier.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he was a
yeah,
great catcher. Yeah, there's so many
yeah,
guys get burned out. Have a bit like Russell Martin looked like he was when he first. Remember, I mean, you're a Dodgers fan. When Russell Martin
hmm,
first came up, dude, he was lighting the world on fire. I was a big Russell
yeah.
Martin fan. I couldn't believe the Dodgers got rid of Russell Martin, dude.
Yeah, he was good, and he was the guy that basically came in after Piazza. It was like, I mean, they had Charles Johnson for a little bit, but he was like the next really standout guy that they kept around, and it was hard to figure him out. I guess is the best way to say it. So you
Yeah.
know how fans are. We get mad at somebody, and then we don't want to let him have a good year. But he just kept being this pretty good player, and then every now and then you'd be like, he'd be brilliant,
hmm
and so it sits uncomfortable that a guy like him is absolutely has Hall of Fame credentials on his resume. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but he did Hall of Fame things, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. As we were talking about career arc before, like this isn't necessarily catch related, but like think about Fernando. Like you come up like that, you set the world on fire. Where do you
Yeah.
go from there? Whereas opposed to if he comes up and he slowly rises and people are anticipating it, and then all of a sudden he
Hmm.
has that big run in the middle. How does that make him
Yeah.
look different, dude? Because everyone's oh he came through, he did what we wanted him to do. But you start off your career
Yeah.
like they're Dwight Gooden, like
Yeah.
career arc that can like you said about Russell, dude. If he doesn't come up like a house of fire, maybe
Yeah.
people don't expect
Right.
so. I don't know.
Well, this
That's my
and
thought.
again, everybody, I'm not knocking Aaron Judge. He's an incredible player. He's galactic. So let's calm down. But he's not going to hit 420 in the second half.
Right.
He's going to still be great. But when it comes to MVP time, a lot of his work will have been in April and in May.
hmm
And will that impact his MVP thing? Yeah, who knows? Probably not. But for Pete, if I was voting, I don't vote because you had a big year. That's the Aaron. That's the Hank Aaron Award.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge, we get that if he stays healthy, guaranteed, right? But MVP, I don't know.
Dude,
I
how
mean,
about
if the
Cal Raleigh?
Yankees don't make the playoffs, how can the MVP play on a team that doesn't make the playoffs? That's got to be hard to do.
I agree.
Uh, Another guy I was going to bring up, Alan Ashby. He played for the Astros mostly, played for Cleveland a little bit in his first part of his career. He's one of those guys that sort of just got it done. And look, nobody cared about on base percentage when he played, but he played catcher, he batted okay, and he played on competitive teams. And they weren't. One thing everybody has to understand is like if someone can get a better player, it's not easy to do. So if the Astros wanted to get over the top and they were able to get somebody great at two, they would do it. But
Mhm.
Ashby held that job down, and he did exactly what they wanted him to do. It was is That's a great catching career. He plays 11 seasons, 1,370 games. That's just incredible.
Would have never
Batting
get it.
average overall was 245, 320 on base percentage, 361 slugging. He played in the Astrodome.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of that is that. And also his job was not to bash balls. That was more of like a Cardinals type team with
hmm
some power pitching, is what those Astros were that he played on.
Yeah, those teams were that Astrodome. People don't talk about that enough. How the Astrodome was just a cavernous.
Yeah, it was big.
I mean, everyone knows what it did to Jim Morgan
Let's
and
see
Joe
here.
Rogan or
In
Joe Morgan.
'83, they were third place in the National League West, 85 wins, right? It took three catchers to back him up. And one of them was a guy named Luis Pujols. Not a terribly good player, but John Mizerach was a backup catcher there as well. And so one of the things about catchers that step down from starter to backup is pretty big. And
Yeah.
so Luis Pujols or Mizrak, these guys, it's rare to have Posada and Leyritz on the same team. When you're using Leyritz where we can
Girardi.
get his bat in the lineup. Yeah, Girardi. Yeah, exactly.
John
Yeah.
Flaherty wasn't a bad backup for the Yankees either.
No, no. Who was that? Doug Mirabelli. Do you remember when they had
Austin.
Veritek there, and then Wakefield was pitching, and they're like, "Fuck, get Mirabelli on a plane wherever he is. I don't care what team he's on, and get him back over here." Remember they
I remember
flew his
that.
ass back? Yeah, got that because he could do the one job they needed was just to catch Wakefield.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then they brought in,
Yeah.
they had to bring in Josh Bard. I think it was Josh Bard after that caught Wakefield. Yeah.
Yeah. There's guys like Mickey Tuttleton who can play catcher, but end up moving off the position
Yeah, I mean,
because
he
their
was.
bat is too valuable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look how many Harper, Schwarber,
Mm-hmm.
Dale Murphy, Napoleon Lajoie, Babe Ruth. Yeah. Forever. Jimmy Fox.
Yeah, Jimmy
Yeah.
Fox is great. Yeah, right. He played over 100 games at catcher.
Dude, he came out when he was
let's
like
just knock
32.
this shit off. What's
He
that?
came out when he was like 32 for the Red Sox and caught like 30 games after he hadn't caught for like 10 years.
It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible when those guys squat behind the plate in the backup
Ridiculous.
role. Because even that, you don't see. I think Jose Akendo might have played a game at catcher just to check the block, but they don't let those guys, even the utility guys, like he's done everything but play catcher.
Right.
They'll let him pitch before they let him catch.
Yeah.
That's how hard catching is.
Yo, you want to talk about a backup catcher? I wrote this down. I forgot about this.
Mm.
Jimmy Wilson, he was a coach for the Reds, 39-40. Well, he was actually a coach for 4 years, all right? And you've heard the story, probably Willard Hirschberger killed himself in the bathtub before the World Series.
Yeah.
Before the Reds World Series. They bring in Jimmy Wilson. He's like 40 years old. Hasn't caught in 4 years. Bats .350 for him, dude. Starts 6 games in the World Series. Talk about a backup catcher. Coming up cold after 4 years. Batting .350 in a World Series.
That's crazy.
That's got to be one of the greatest backup catcher job that's ever been done. Now that I think about it. I mean,
yeah, that's like Magic playing center in the finals.
Yeah.
It's like what is going on over here? Yeah, man. Someone else who stands out to me who doesn't get enough attention, and look, it's some Dodger stuff, but these guys won titles with Johnny Roseboro behind the plate.
Taking that bat to Marichal.
I know, right? No, Marichal took it back to him.
Oh, yeah, Marichal took the bat to him. That's right.
Yeah.
And Steve Yeager.
He does 1,489 games, and this gets lost in the mix, but this is in an era where too many black baseball players on a team was a problem. Yeah. And a lot of these black players had an attitude of like, get me on the fucking field. How dare you not do that? Right. And they got upset. And that doesn't just stop on one day. Like Reggie gets to be pissed because he gets to see the shitty attitudes. There's a guy that played baseball with Greg Vaughn at Sac City and in Sacramento during high school time, had a great minor league career and never really got a full shot. Who knows why, right? But it didn't help him that he was black. And so these players from that era, man, they get to be pissed off and say, hey, look, there's always the thing of like, you're giving that guy a shot, not me. There's always going to be that. But then when there's the perception of race, and it's valid in a lot of cases, oh man, what are you going to do? And so Roseboro is one of those guys that sort of had to lead the way. Is a catcher smart enough to be black? Well, Campy was. Well, what about Roseboro? He's probably not. And all that kind of stuff happens to him. And, look, he also was celebrated. I'm not going to act like he wasn't. Yeah. There's some complexity to these things. And when I see players are players of their time, that's what happens. You play in the time that you're in.
Yeah. I think Quincy Troop was the first African American to play catcher.
Is that right?
Leagues. Yeah. Indians.
And you would know. You know that stuff.
He got a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I always, just everybody watching, if you're on Twitter and talking baseball, I always leave Lave Cross for Brian.
I love Lave Cross.
Yeah. I'll see him and I'm like, I'm not going to mention him. I'm going to leave room because I know how to produce things.
Played for every Philadelphia athletic teams ever.
Yeah. And I have so many short little pieces that I don't release, I'm like, I just can't get this thing done. It's all these great stories about all these wild dudes from the olden times, One of the things that folks don't realize, and this goes to catcher too, and I'm going to bring this all the way back to where we started at. You might play catcher, and maybe you're from Wisconsin, and you just love Wisconsin, and you're getting shit on in the big leagues. Like, I can go play semi-pro ball, and I can make a good living. I could play baseball. I'm going back to Milwaukee, or the guys out in LA, or anywhere in California. The California leagues were so popular because better weather, comparable money, and it just was easier. You got to live in a better place. And so there's a lot of guys who were big leaguers that are just like, not worth my time. It's just, or the personalities don't line up. And so there's all kinds of players like that go on and do things. And these wonderful baseball careers are born out of that. One of these guys so apart from Bragan, there's a number of guys that, because they were a catcher, go on to other things and have big baseball lives. And where's that dude out here? I'm going to look him up here in a second. Billy Shantz, Bobby's brother. Billy Shantz, never heard of him, right? But he played catcher. Yeah, and he wasn't good enough. That's just the thing, right? He wasn't good enough to stay in the big leagues. He got several seasons, got a real shot, but it didn't work out. But he went on and was an exceptional minor league player for a long time. He just played and played and played, managed and all that kind of thing. All the things you might imagine a catcher would do. So he was good at being in the organization and making other guys around him good. And so does that make him a great major league catcher? No. But there. Not only is that underrated, it's not even acknowledged that you have these guys like Del Crandall was a catcher. Anybody who looks at Del Crandall's baseball life is going to be like, holy shit, did that guy do a lot for baseball. And he was one of the guys. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's so much of a mentorship aspect in catching all the way back through the history, like guys mentoring each other, teaching each other. And you're right, they don't get any credit.
Guys Del Crandall was managing Adrian Beltre when he was coming up, and they still thought he was 18, double-A ball.
Del Crandall? Wait, who am I thinking of? How old's Del Crandall?
I think that's Del Crandall. I might be wrong there. Let me double-check now that you're saying that. Go ahead. You keep talking. Cover for me.
Oh, no. But like Mickey Cochran, dude. Mickey Cochran, and this is one of the things, like catcher changed so much from the 1800s until Mickey Cochran came around. But one of Mickey Cochran's earliest mentors was a guy named Tom Daly who debuted in 1884.
Wow.
So how does a guy that played in the 1880s mentor a guy who was basically catching like a modern catcher? You know what I mean? But it's still all there. It still all happened in front of him. He learned it all, was there through all the changes. It's crazy to think a guy that old could teach a guy how to catch that was catching then.
Let's see here. Yeah, Del Crandall. So Del Crandall played baseball from
Braves catcher, right?
Yeah, Braves catcher for a long time. Milwaukee, Giants, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Stopped playing in '66 for a little while, and then started managing. So he went to Albuquerque in the International League for the Dodgers, and just sort of stayed in that spot. And so he managed Albuquerque for a long time until '84. Took a break, and I don't know what he did. I'm not going to look it up now. I'm positive he did something in baseball from '84 to '96. But then the Dodgers gave him a gig doing high A in San Bernardino. And so I think it was 96, he got all of that experience,
Yeah.
He's in his 60s or something like that managing, and he's got 17-year-old in high A ball, everybody, 17-year-old Adrian Beltre playing. And there's great quotes from him like, hey. And this is a guy who's been in baseball all that time. And he's like, he's probably the best baseball player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he was 17.
Yeah. I would have never guessed he managed Adrian Beltre. Holy crap.
Yeah. That's how short that baseball timeline is, though.
Yeah.
I can go play that fun Oracle game, and I can go look and see who he played with before he played with anybody else.
Yeah, like, dude, Hal Newhouser's scouting Derek Jeter, and he played how long before Jeter?
Yeah.
Said he's going to the Hall of Fame. Saw him when he was 18, said he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Del Crandall played with guys like Eddie Stanky, Tommy Holmes, if you guys know who these guys are, and Warren Spahn, Johnny Sane. These are all guys he played with. Johnny Antonelli, if you know who that guy is. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Johnny Antonelli was a catcher, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah. I'm going to go look. Maybe he was a pitcher. I'll look right now. No, he's a pitcher in this case. Yeah, the backup catcher on the teams I'm looking at right now are Bill Salkfield and Phil Mazzy. And again, these guys are backup catchers. But
I would have thought Walter Cooper was there.
This is pretty crazy. Phil Mazzy, right? A guy that neither of us have ever heard of.
No.
This man plays 1,200 games in the big leagues. So let me just see how much of that was at catcher, because it wasn't all at catcher. 1,100 games at catcher. Never heard of him.
Yeah.
1,100. I mean, you know how rare 1,100 is. Not even 200 dudes, but it's incredible.
It's incredible.
So when you think about overall greatest catcher, what's the difference between the top 10, the bench and the Przinski. Like, what is the difference truly, do you think?
The bench. I mean, I think the bat and physically, I think there's just like a body type like that stocky. I mean, look at all these guys. Their nicknames are
Hmm.
Pudge, Yogi Berra. Look at
Yeah.
what freaking Molina looks like.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
Pudge if I've ever seen one.
All of the Molinas, none of those guys are slender.
Yeah, but who's kind of big? Piazza's kind of big.
Yeah.
Fisk isn't very tall. Fisk was only probably 5'11". Talk about an
Yeah.
athlete, dude. Carlton Fisk was an
Yeah.
athlete, man.
Biggio was tiny.
Yeah, he was.
He
Yeah, he
was not
was.
quite Lilliputian, but he was not a big dude. Kendall was slender,
Mm-hmm. Charles
but
Johnson tall.
athletic as fuck, though. Man, that guy could get around. And by the way, had his leg destroyed and still came back. It's like, well, that's going to be the end of his career. It was not the end of his career. He kept going a long time.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well, listen, we've done this for an hour and 10 minutes. What else do you want to say before we wrap it up? And let's do another one soon.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely. I could keep talking about catchers for the next hour.
Yeah. Give us an old time catcher. Someone that you
An
think, like from the
old
Cuba
time.
days or something like that.
I mean, Mike Gonzalez was the best manager down there, probably the best Cuban catcher before the war. He was a third base coach when Enos Slaughter made his mad dash. He was the first Latino player to manage in the big leagues, interim manager for the
Right.
Cardinals. Yeah, him and Luke, Dolph Luke, were the two best Cuban managers. They made it into what was that book by Ernest Hemingway? I can't remember. I don't like Hemingway, but they were in that book. They got mentioned in that book.
Yeah.
Pretty famous dudes for down there. One guy that I always thought
Yeah.
from the 19th century that should be in was Deacon McGuire. His name was. He caught for like 25
Mm,
years, which is unheard of back then.
yeah.
I think he hung it up in 1905 with the Yankees and started in like 1881 or something, dude. So
Hmm.
when he started, catchers were standing 25 feet behind the plate. The pitcher was like 45 feet away, and he could crow hop it to you. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
getting your ass beat. And he
Yeah.
did it, and by the time he hung it up, Christy Mathewson was pitching. So he's
Yeah.
basically facing modern pitch, just going through all the changes, dude, and just kept catching and
Yeah.
catching and catching. And there's that joke.
Yeah. It's interesting. The progression and the distance between like what's modern day. Like I think Lefty Grove's like the first. When I think about 300 win pitchers, he's the first modern pitcher. Even though what he did doesn't represent what we do today, but of the 300 game winners, he has a career that he didn't do like the standard 1800s thing, where it's like I'm gonna throw as much as I can until my arm falls off, and
Yeah,
then I'm gonna try to throw slow. He didn't. He had like a real career,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that resembles like more than 50s guys, because that makes sense from when he pitched. But
yeah,
I think of him as being one of the first modern players.
yeah, definitely. Him and I guess Dazzy Vance, you could say. I mean,
Hmm.
in the 20s they came up with the slider, basically
Yeah,
popularized the slider. I think it was who was it, General Crowder, maybe his name was, and then Red Ruffing. Basically the same thing they've
yeah,
done today with the sweeper, with countering the home run. It's the same kind of pitch, same idea, same
yeah,
kind of movement. So yeah, I see why you say that about him being the first modern.
yeah. And it's the way he was used. 35ish starts a game instead of 500 starts a game.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's that. Dazzy Vance, by the way, is another guy that got a start, but it took him a minute to get
Late.
up there. Yeah, and we don't realize that like he basically doesn't pitch in his 30s and still has this incredible career that leads to the Hall of Fame. If you were going to bet against the guy making a Hall of Fame, this is the thing. Like when people talk about who's going to be Hall of Famer, we don't know.
Right.
Because in this case, Dazzy Vance, if he was 26, you'd be like, "Who the fuck is Dazzy Vance? He doesn't even play. What do you mean he's going to be a Hall of Famer?"
Yeah. Well, dude,
Yeah.
Red Ruffing, before he developed the slider, he was like 38 and
Mhm.
103 for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
record,
Yeah.
dude. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
bad. He was bad,
Yeah.
bad, bad, bad.
Yeah.
And learns a
Yeah.
slider, dude, and he's a home run killer.
Jamie Moyer approached the Hall of Fame, and
Yeah.
he stunk until like he was 27,
Yeah.
and then he played on crap teams. So it's like
Right.
he had the double whammy of being bad and playing on, but he figured that changeup out.
Yep.
And I mean, he got dudes out until he was 50. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember
Crazy.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else? Anything else? Are we going to wrap this up? This is great. Everybody, I hope you love watching and talking about baseball and rating players and stuff. We'll definitely do more of this. But anything in closing before we go, Brian?
I'm looking. I don't think I got nothing, man.
Let's see. Look at my notes. I put all kinds of notes together, knowing that I wouldn't say half that shit.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Moberg, got to mention him in catching, just because
Yeah.
his contributions off the field are incredible, and I'm spy, and so I like spy shit. Yeah, there's just all kinds of dudes that came up. You know who else was a catcher? It's kind of funny. We mentioned Steve Sachs earlier. Got to mention Dave Sachs. Who? Yeah, that's right. Steve had a brother prospect, couldn't quite make the championship grade Dodgers at the time, and so they slid him over to Boston. Couldn't quite make Boston in because also good, but there you go. I had himself a little catching career. He can legitimately say, I was a catcher in the big leagues, you know? Pretty neat.
Dude, you named a bunch of Frank Stallones today. I didn't know these guys had brothers and stuff.
Tons of these. It seems like the place where brothers go is catcher. Like, oh, no, he's the smart one. He plays catcher, you know? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I'm going to hang up. I'll see you all tomorrow with something else, and it's going to be incredible. And then I'll talk to you later, Brian. Just hang in there, and I'll say goodbye to you offline.